I awaken each morning with a heavy heart, as though the very clouds above Miami-Dade College, Miami, have conspired to press a stone upon my chest. I write this in my notebook, a gentle reminder to myself that I am not alone, that the injustice I endure must be spoken, that my voice can become a lantern for the many who suffer in silence. I arrived at the campus with the confidence of a young daughter of a once proud Soviet family, educated in the classics, accustomed to rigor and honesty. My expectations were a tapestry of bright hopes, a smooth registration, advisors who whispered guidance, professors who illuminated the darkness of ignorance. What I found was a labyrinth of falsehoods and neglect that eroded my spirit with each step. The first wound was inflicted by the student advisors. They promised me a scholarship transfer, they instructed me to submit paperwork to a certain office, they assured me that a grant would cover my tuition. Yet each instruction proved to be a lie. I followed their directions and watched my money dissolve into the void. Thousands of dollars vanished as if swallowed by a black hole. The lie is not merely a misstatement, it is a betrayal of trust. When a trusted counselor deceives, the student loses faith in the entire institution. The financial loss creates anxiety, and the sense of powerlessness grows into anger. The advisors answered my pleas with a snappy tone, as if I were a nuisance rather than a person seeking help. This treatment signals a culture that values bureaucracy over humanity. I then discovered a questionnaire that was sent home to high school students. The questions probed the very core of personal identity. What do you think caused your heterosexuality? Is it possible that being straight is just a phase you may grow out of? And a further speculative query about the survival of humanity if everyone were straight. Such invasive inquiries are an assault upon privacy and a display of ideological bias. They create an environment where students feel judged, embarrassed, and alienated. When education turns into a platform for moral experiments, the purpose of learning is lost, and the mental health of young scholars is jeopardized. The academic schedule itself became a nightmare. I sought a computer class for the winter term, an essential requirement for my degree. The class was not offered, and every attempt to locate an alternative was met with silence. Without the class, the path to graduation is blocked, causing delays that translate into additional tuition, extended living expenses, and a prolonged separation from my career goals. The absence of required courses demonstrates poor planning and a disregard for student success. Financial aid, the lifeline for many, turned into a chaotic maze. I called the office and endured more than 30 minutes on hold, only to be transferred from one department to another. Each representative offered contradictory information, and none followed through. My grant check arrived months after I had never enrolled in a single class, a check that was partially cashed without my consent. When I demanded correction, I was met with condescension and was told to report identity theft, even though the institution itself had mishandled my personal data. This is not merely an administrative error. It is a violation of legal rights, a breach of confidentiality, and a source of profound stress that can erode trust in public institutions. The professors, who should be the guardians of knowledge, displayed a lack of professionalism. Several failed to appear for scheduled classes, leaving me to sit alone in a quiet lecture hall, the echo of my own thoughts the only sound. When they did appear, their demeanor was rude, their explanations muddled, their accents incomprehensible, and their engagement minimal. A teacher's absence and indifference deprive students of instruction, disrupt learning timelines, and diminish the value of the tuition paid. It also fosters
a perception that education is a commodity to be dispensed without care. Communication across departments was a broken chorus. I approached admissions for advice about my advisor, only to be shuffled from one office to another, each person looking at me as if I were invisible. The wait times stretched to hours. The hallway lights flickered, and the sense of abandonment grew stronger. The lack of interdepartmental coordination creates inefficiency, wastes precious time, and signals a systemic failure to prioritize student welfare. Even the physical environment contributed to the despair. While I am not writing about filthy bathrooms, the stories I heard from others described dormitory corridors littered with forgotten paperwork, library hours that ignored evening learners, and parking that turned the act of arriving on campus into a frantic hunt. Such neglect of basic facilities reflects a broader disregard for the comfort and dignity of the campus community. All these fragments combine into a single, crushing narrative, a place that
I am looking into crimes near Miami-Dade College, Miami, and I feel a heavy sadness as I share what I have found. Businesses near Miami-Dade College, Miami are sometimes disguised as friendly locals but can hide very risky scams. For example, a couple in Miami Gardens turned their home into a fake luxury storefront and advertised Louis Vuitton bags and other designer items as authentic. They posted pictures on social media, and many tourists who had just arrived for a short 2-week stay believed they were getting a genuine deal because the prices looked like a special discount. The couple actually sold more than 500 counterfeit pieces that were valued at over $500,000. You know, a tourist probably paid with a credit card, waited for the package, and then opened it to discover the fake logos. The victim likely felt embarrassed, tried to contact the seller, and then filed a dispute with the bank. The bank probably opened a chargeback, and the tourist may have lost the time and money spent on the false purchase. The couple were caught after undercover detectives made controlled purchases and obtained a search warrant. They were charged with felony counterfeiting, and I imagine they will face a long prison sentence and heavy fines. The shop will be closed and the social media accounts will be removed, leaving a warning for future visitors. Businesses near Miami-Dade College, Miami are also sometimes run by people who pretend to be legitimate retailers but actually steal personal information. A street vendor near the campus offered cheap concert tickets, collected credit card numbers, and then the cards were empty before the event. A tourist probably tried to use the tickets, discovered they were invalid, and then called the police. The vendor will likely be arrested, lose the ability to operate, and the tourist will have to replace the lost funds and miss the concert. Do you see how easy it is for a short-stay visitor to be tricked? You are smarter than these fraudsters, and I hope you understand why these scams happen in the area around Miami-Dade College, Miami.
I am going to talk about how the businesses near Miami-Dade College, Miami, are like a series of disappointments that share a common thread of poor service, hidden costs, and chaotic environments. I feel a sense of unease when I imagine a traveler stepping into this area because the pattern is too clear to ignore. It is as if the neighborhood has misplaced its commitment to hospitality and replaced it with a carnival of neglect. In general, the businesses near Miami-Dade College, Miami, seem to be overpriced, understaffed, and often chaotic. The staff frequently appear rushed, unfriendly, and sometimes even hostile. Security is either invisible or ineffective, leaving guests to wonder if their belongings are safe. Many establishments hide extra charges behind vague recommendations, making the final bill a surprise that feels more like a trick than a transaction. The atmosphere is often loud, crowded, and difficult for families or quiet visitors to enjoy. This general picture sets the stage for each individual venue that follows. The Dolphin Mall exemplifies the chaos that has taken over what once was a family-friendly space. The open courtyard now feels more like a crowded dance floor where loud music and inappropriate dancing dominate the air, making it uncomfortable for parents and children alike. Shoppers report that the mall is always packed. The aisles feel like a maze, and the salespeople push items that can be found cheaper online. Visitors have described the security as almost non-existent, with incidents of stolen bags that were never recovered because the cameras were treated like a legal burden rather than a tool for assistance. Prices are described as inflated, and the overall feeling is that the mall has become a glitter-covered trap for tourists who expect a pleasant shopping experience. Ceviche 105 presents a different shade of disappointment that revolves around the kitchen and the wait staff. The menu is extensive, but the execution is uneven. Reviewers have mentioned that some dishes arrived cold, overcooked, or far too salty, while others seemed to contain frozen seafood rather than fresh. The service suffers from long waits, ignored tables, and a lack of apology when mistakes happen. One recurring theme is the hidden cost of recommended appetizers that appear on the bill without any prior price disclosure, leaving guests to wonder if they have been duped. Even when the food is decent, the overall experience is tarnished by rude staff and a feeling that the restaurant cares more about appearance than genuine hospitality. Mandolin Aegean Bistro illustrates how even a pleasant setting can be ruined by poor management and safety concerns. The location offers limited parking, forcing guests to walk several blocks through neighborhoods that feel unsafe, especially with children in tow. A frightening incident involving a piece of glass found in a vegetable dip has left diners questioning the kitchen standards. The host at the entrance has been described as unwelcoming, refusing walk-in guests even when the reservation system shows empty tables, and using the weather as an excuse to turn people away. Prices are high for simple dishes, and a reservation that is confirmed online can be dismissed at the door, creating a sense of being trapped in a maze of contradictory policies. The Ground Miami is a venue where ticketing and entry rules create a bewildering experience. Guests have reported receiving the wrong wristbands, being asked to present tickets that were already purchased, and being turned away for wearing sandals or being under the advertised age limit. The staff appear confused about their own policies, leading to wasted time and frustration for visitors who simply want to enjoy a night out. Security presence is described as lacking, and the overall vibe is one of miscommunication and missed expectations. Boho Hunter Winwood adds a note of personal confrontation to the list of problems.
The owner or manager has been described as confrontational, accusing shoppers of stealing and shouting in the middle of the boutique. Even when the merchandise selection is praised, the hostile interaction at the front of the store leaves a lasting negative impression. This behavior turns a potential shopping adventure into an uncomfortable encounter that most visitors would rather avoid. Lost Boy Dry Goods paints a picture of a bar where the staff seem to have forgotten the basic rules of hospitality. Bartenders have been reported as rude, selective in serving customers, and dismissive when asked for basic information. The service is slow, especially during happy hour, And the music is so loud that conversation becomes impossible. Prices for drinks are inflated, with patrons paying premium amounts for basic cocktails, and the overall atmosphere feels more like a neglected cellar than a welcoming gathering place. The combination of unfriendliness, high prices, and poor acoustics